One day in France, a funeral ceremony had just finished. When the ceremony ended and people left, there was a boy who continued to sprinkle flowers on the grave, as if he still couldn't accept why his mother had left him so soon. The father then told the boy to go home. In the car, even though he knew that his son was very sad and really needed a father figure to strengthen him, the father instead told him to go home first because he had an important meeting at the office. Without complaining at all and with a cold expression, the boy just kept quiet and obeyed. 1 year passed. At a bazaar, a man named Semi was seen busy offering his merchandise to visitors. Even though his condition as a disabled person meant he couldn't use his right hand, Semi never begged. He was very good at selling, even though the goods he offered were quite strange, namely a two-headed teapot. However, because of his skill in speaking, that day Semi's merchandise sold well. Unfortunately, in the middle of the buying and selling process, several police officers suddenly came and confiscated all of Semi's merchandise because they were considered illegal imports. After returning to the ship, Semi's friends saw him dizzy thinking about how to pay off his debt of 3,000 euros, while he had used all his savings to import hundreds of two-headed teapots from abroad. Semi felt disappointed. Why would the police have the heart to punish a small trader like him? Not long after, his wife, Alice, came home. After hearing her husband's story, Alice was shocked. In fact, they were in dire need of money to renovate the apartment and also to pay for the birth of their first child. The next day, in a very magnificent house, a boy and his father were seen having breakfast together. The boy's name was Alex, while his father's name was Philippe. At that time, Philippe asked Alex what gift he wanted for his 11th birthday tomorrow. Coldly, Alex answered that he didn't want anything. Since his mother died, the smile on Alex's face seemed to have disappeared. There was nothing in this world that could interest him. He was always alone, had no friends, and had no desires. On the other hand, at the employment agency office, Semi asked the staff there if there were any job vacancies that could accept people with disabilities like him. When checking the job listings, there was one job that suited Semi, namely as a mall security guard. Without thinking twice, Semi took the job, and that night, on the night shift, he immediately started working. The next morning, Alex came with the guards and the mall director. The mall director said that today Philippe had rented the entire mall especially for Alex, as a birthday present. While walking around, there was something in the toy store that caught Alex's attention. When they looked at it, they all saw Semi, who was sleeping. When Semi woke up and saw the mall director in front of him, he panicked and immediately pretended to be working. However, when he was about to go downstairs, his pants got caught. When Alex's guards tried to help, because he couldn't keep still, Semi accidentally pointed at them, even spraying tear gas. Seeing Semi's funny behavior, Alex suddenly said to the mall director that he wanted to buy the security guard. The director was shocked, then tried to explain that humans are not goods that can be bought. However, when Alex threatened to complain to his father, the director finally gave in to Alex's wishes. The director then invited Semi to talk to him alone. He offered Semi an overtime job to accompany Alex to play all day for a salary of 1,000 euros, or around 16 million rupiah. Although confused, because he really needed the money, Semi accepted the offer. When they both approached Alex, Alex asked that his toys be put in a box. Hearing that, Semi protested to the director. "Wasn't I just told to accompany him to play? Why did I put them in a box? I'm a human being, not an object." The director then explained that no one could refuse the request of the richest man in France. Just so Semi knows, the boy is the boss of all bosses. No matter how much money Semi asks for, he will definitely be given, as long as Semi is willing to be put in the box. Semi then said that to pay off his debt, he needed 3,000 euros. Without thinking twice, the director agreed, then immediately ordered his staff to wrap Semi up. When he got out of the box, Semi was amazed to see Alex's room. The door to his room could open automatically, his toy collection was very large, and the room decoration was so sophisticated, like being in outer space. Alex then invited Semi to go down to the room below. Because he asked too many questions, a bald guard threw him down the slide, downstairs. Semi was surprised again. It turned out that Alex had his own game room. In the midst of his amazement, Alex invited Semi to play table hockey. Initially, Alex won with a score of 2-0, but after that Semi started to get serious. He managed to turn things around and won with a score of 23-2. Because he was annoyed, Alex invited Semi to play another game. Meanwhile, when Philippe had just come home, a guard came to report while showing a video recording of when Semi was opened from the box earlier. Seeing his son treating others like toys, Philippe immediately ordered the guard to delete the video. If the recording was spread, it could have fatal consequences. Inside the house, Semi and Alex were playing cops. Suddenly, Philippe came to greet them, then invited them to eat together. At the dining table, even though everything looked luxurious, Semi felt surprised. The atmosphere there felt very quiet. In fact, Philippe had started eating without first saying bon appetit. When he tasted the food, Semi cried because it was so delicious. He couldn't believe how Philippe and Alex could eat food this delicious every day, but their family looked unhappy. After finishing eating, a waiter brought a cake. Then Philippe wished him a happy birthday. Semi was even more confused. Let alone applause, there was no smile. After celebrating Alex's birthday outside, Semi then signed a statement not to tell anyone about today's incident, then took his payment. When he was about to go home, Philippe suddenly called. Philippe asked Semi to stay and accompany his son to play. He said that since his mother died, Alex had become a gloomy child. There was nothing in this world that could attract his son's attention. Even though he had tried to buy various things, although making people into toys was strange, this was the first time he had seen Alex interested in something. Unfortunately, Semi refused because his task here was finished. Earlier, he was willing to be used as a toy just to pay off his debt of 3,000 euros. If it weren't for the debt, he wouldn't have agreed. After all, he was still a human being with self-respect and would never want to be used as a toy. However, when he was about to leave, Philippe asked, "How about you get paid 14,000 euros or around 200 million rupiah every week?" Hearing the offer, that night Semi accompanied Alex again. Seeing the sophistication of the hologram in Alex's room, Semi was amazed. At that time, Alex was making a video for his channel. After uploading the video, Alex climbed into bed and went to sleep. When he found out that Alex's bed could float, Semi was confused. After the bedroom lights were turned off, because he couldn't sleep, Semi walked out. When he had just gone down the stairs, he felt strange. Why was there a toilet in front of the main door, however, when he was about to urinate? Philippe suddenly appeared. Philippe said that the object that Semi almost peed on was not a toilet, but a work of art worth 2 million euros or around 32 billion rupiah. Philippe then invited Semi to look at his art collection. There was a statue of a zebra that had fallen face down worth millions of euros, as well as other strange items. While walking, Semi told him that his wife was heavily pregnant. Maybe she would give birth soon. He then asked Philippe how it felt when he first witnessed his baby being born into the world. Hearing that, Philippe only answered that he didn't feel anything. For him, being a father is not as easy as imagined. Being a father is very difficult. The next morning, when he just woke up, a servant told him that today Semi could go home first to get his clothes at home. Then Semi was delivered by the driver. When he arrived at the apartment, the neighbors gathered to welcome him. Semi was indeed known to be kind to all his neighbors. Seeing him come in a luxury car, the neighbors became even more excited. Inside the apartment, Alice sulked. She was upset because her husband had disappeared for 2 days without any news, because she had signed an agreement not to leak the incident at Alex's house. Semi was forced to make up a lie. However, even though it had been explained many times that he had gotten a new job, Alice still did not believe it. When she saw her husband wearing nice clothes, smelling good, and suddenly packing his things, Alice cried. She was sure that her husband was having an affair. Semi then showed off by ordering the driver to open and close the car door. The driver opened and closed the car door according to Semi's orders. He then said that now he had many subordinates. However, Alice still did not believe it. It could be that the driver was a friend who had been invited to work together, okay. Semi then ordered his friend to open and close the car door like the driver did earlier. This is the difference between a friend and a driver, said Semi. Because he still didn't believe it, Semi finally showed a check for 10,000 euros as proof that he really worked and received a salary. He told Alice to buy whatever she wanted with the money. Just spend it however you want, said Semi. Hearing her husband's words, Alice finally smiled and believed it. That evening, when she was about to go back to work, Semi was surprised to see Alice and her neighbors demonstrating. They demonstrated while shouting Philippe's name. It turned out that her neighbors were former employees at one of Philippe's factories who had just been fired. Luckily, they all didn't know that Semi was now working at Philippe's house. After greeting them, Semi continued on his way. In the private game room, while relaxing, Semi asked Alex, "What else do you want to play tomorrow?" Alex casually replied that he wanted to play tag tomorrow. "Tomorrow Semi will be a rabbit, and you have to run away from the hunting dog," said Alex. The dog Alex meant was a real dog. Hearing that, Semi immediately went to the assistant and protested. He was paid to be Alex's toy, but he didn't want to be used as a dog's toy. What Alex asked for was too much. "That kid is spoiled, has no manners. No wonder no one wants to be friends with him," said Semi. Unknowingly, from upstairs, Alex heard all of Semi's words. The next morning, for the sake of his job, even though it was hard, Semi was forced to follow Alex's wishes. However, when he was shot and bitten by dogs, Semi finally gave up. He was fed up with all of Alex's strange requests. From that moment on, he decided to quit. After Semi left, Philippe said, Alex just broke his toy's heart. That evening, in the apartment, Semi was shocked. It turned out that all the money he had given yesterday had run out without any left at all. Alice used the money to buy a new washing machine, a new television, to renovate the apartment, and she used the rest of the money to help fund the struggle of her friends who were demonstrating in front of Philippe's factory. Hearing the story just now, Semi fell silent and weak. That night, when his wife was sleeping, Semi pondered. Now his money was gone, even though his baby would be born soon. In the midst of his contemplation, Semi suddenly saw the baby in Alice's stomach moving. For the sake of her baby, the next day, Semi finally decided to swallow her pride and let herself be Alex's toy again. In the room, when Semi greeted him, Alex still looked sulky. To lighten the mood, Semi invited Alex to play. In the middle of the event, Philippe told all the guests to be quiet. This was the first time he had heard his son laugh again since his wife died. In the evening, on the balcony of the house, when Alex invited Semi to play again, Semi told Alex to rest for a while enjoying the beautiful evening view. Semi advised Alex that he should be able to enjoy life more before death came. Hearing the sentence just now,
Alex seemed to remember something. He then ran into the forest. When Semi chased him, it turned out that in the middle of the forest there was a tree house.
Above, Alex was gloomy as he continued to stare at his mother's photo. Alex told Semi that the real reason he was angry with his father was because in the past, when his mother was seriously ill and the doctor said she would not be able to recover, instead of letting her stay in France, his father took her to a hospital abroad for treatment, due to Philippe's selfishness. And because they were separated so far abroad, Alex did not have time to accompany his mother's last moments before she died. Seeing the boy's sadness, Semi tried to comfort him. Semi said that every time he felt sad, he usually spent time reading his favorite book entitled The Tree Knight. Although the story seemed like a children's story, it was quite exciting for adults to read. He then told the story of the Tree Knight in the book. Hearing Semi's story, Alex finally smiled again. So that he would not continue to be sad, the two of them then played knights. That night, when Alex was sleeping, Semi called Alice to give her the news. Alice smiled and said that their child would definitely be proud to have a great father like Semi. In the morning, when returning home, Semi met Philippe, who happened to be about to leave for work. Jokingly, Semi invited Philippe to take off his shoes and step on the grass, because it felt ticklish and nice. Philippe happily refused. Semi reported that Philippe didn't need to worry. Alex was sleeping soundly in the tree house now. Semi said that the boy really needed a father figure, so if possible, Philippe should spend more time with Alex. It so happened that tonight there was a France versus Spain soccer match. If he wasn't busy, Philippe could come and watch it together. Hearing that, Philippe arrogantly replied that someone like Semi didn't deserve to advise him. Seeing Philippe's stubbornness, Semi could only ask for forgiveness. In the afternoon, at the office, during a meeting, Philippe continued to daydream. He thought about what Semi had said this morning. That night, Semi, Alex, the guards, and the servants were seen happily watching the football match between France and Spain. Because the match was very exciting, they were tense and even shouted. In the midst of the excitement, Philippe suddenly came. In an instant, the atmosphere was completely silent. Philippe then told them to continue watching together because he came here just to watch. When Philippe watched, the people who were standing immediately sat neatly. No one dared to make a sound at all. Only Alex and Semi were still shouting when France scored a goal. Seeing Alex hugging Semi, Philippe invited Alex to hug too, in the middle of the night, because he couldn't sleep. Semi snuck into the kitchen to get some bread. However, when he was about to return to the room, he was caught by Philippe. Philippe then invited Semi to have a casual chat. Although a little nervous in the casual chat, Semi said that Philippe was too stiff. He asked Philippe to show his facial expression if he had just received 1 billion euros. Philippe showed his facial expression. Okay, what if you just lost 1 billion? Semi asked again. Philippe showed the same facial expression again. Semi was confused. Why did Philippe have a luxurious house, hundreds of cars, thousands of employees, but only had one blank facial expression, if all of Philippe's expressions were the same? Then the people around him wouldn't know whether he was sad, angry, or happy. They would definitely misunderstand. Even earlier, when watching football together, just to hug his own child, Philippe was very stiff. Semi then taught how to hug properly. First, a hug is not just about embracing each other's hands, but also has to touch bodies, explained Semi. After touching bodies, take a deep breath to enjoy the sensation. As he followed Semi's instructions, Philippe felt the difference. However, while they were enjoying the moment, suddenly a servant caught them both. In order to avoid misunderstandings, they immediately dispersed. In the room, while sleeping, Alex suddenly woke up because of a nightmare. Because he was scared, he then moved to sleep in the same bed as Semi. In the morning, when he was about to jog, Philippe remembered Semi's advice from last night. He then tried to smile and approached his two gardeners while putting on a friendly face. Philippe greeted one of the gardeners, who he thought was named Paolo. But it turned out, he had the wrong person. The gardener's name was Lucien, while the other was just named Paul. Philippe then asked how Lucien's daughter was doing. But, again he was wrong. Lucien didn't have a daughter, he had a son. While the one who had a daughter was Paul. Because the atmosphere was awkward, Philippe immediately continued jogging. After his morning jog, when he wanted to wake up his son, Philippe saw Alex and Semi sleeping in the same bed. Philippe felt very jealous. In his entire life, he had never been able to be that close to his own son. Not long after Semi woke up, he tried to play the piano that Alex's late mother used to play when she was still alive. Seeing Semi's rude attitude, coupled with his still burning jealousy, Philippe was furious. For no apparent reason, Philippe suddenly fired Semi and threw her out of the house. The bald guard then threw Semi out. He looked very happy because Semi was finally fired. All this time, he had been fed up with Semi's rude behavior. Not long after, in the middle of the road, from behind, Alex caught up with Semi in his mini car. Alex said that if Semi left, then he would leave too. Even though Semi had tried to tell Alex to go home, the boy still insisted on coming along. Like it or not, Semi invited Alex to his apartment. On the other hand, when he found out that Alex had run away from home, Philippe was furious. "Why can't you guys take care of my child?" he snapped at the guard, so angry that second Philippe fired the guard. Hearing Philippe's words, the guard was very disappointed. In fact, he had worked there for 10 years. With a face full of resentment, he left Philippe's house. Meanwhile, in the apartment, Semi introduced Alex to his wife, friends, and neighbors. When Alice was having trouble, Alex quickly helped. Since Semi's arrival, the spoiled brat's disrespectful nature has now started to change for the better. At the dining table, Semi poured tea using a double-headed teapot. Seeing the unique teapot, Alex was amazed. Alice always asked about Alex's daily life. Because he was afraid that his work would be found out, Semi hurriedly took Alex out. Outside, Alex's face was so happy. For the first time, he could play with children his age. However, while he was busy playing, there was an arrogant boy who bullied Alex and challenged him to a fight. Initially, Semi tried to separate them because he was afraid that his boss's son would get hurt. But unexpectedly, it turned out that Alex could defend himself. After beating up the arrogant boy, Semi immediately asked Alex to run away. On the roof of the apartment, the two of them enjoyed the beautiful evening view together. For some reason, the evening view in this simple place felt much more beautiful to Alex than the view on the balcony of his luxurious house. In the middle of the conversation, Semi gave him the book he had told him about yesterday, a book entitled Kshatriya Pohan. Semi said that Alex could keep the book as a birthday present from her. Alex was very happy. This simple book gift was the best birthday present of her life. After spending time together, Semi then took Alex home before it was too late. However, in front of the apartment gate, Philippe and his guards suddenly came and forced Alex into the car. He also threatened Semi to never dare to approach Alex again. Seeing the boy leave, Semi felt sad. However, she was sure that Alex would still be happy, with or without her presence. While walking back to the apartment, Semi felt strange. Why were people looking at her with cynical looks while teasing her about the video that was going viral on the internet? Meanwhile, in the car on the way home, notifications on Philippe and Alex's cell phones kept ringing. When checked, They were shocked to see that all the videos during Semi's time as a toy in Alex's house had been spread by the bald guard to the internet. In a matter of hours, the video went viral and was on the news, and even parodied everywhere. In the apartment, Alice cried and was furious. She was disappointed. Why had her husband been lying all this time? She was really ashamed to have a husband who was used as a toy by a rich man. Moreover, the rich man was an evil rich man who had fired all his neighbors here. Devastated, Alice asked Semi to leave the house. She didn't want her child to have a father who had no self-esteem and brought shame to the family. At Philippe's house, all the employees watched the massive demonstration on television. The residents, especially Semi's neighbors, were angry. Just because he was rich, Philippe not only fired hundreds of employees, but even had the heart to make humans his child's toys. That night, in the apartment, Alice felt guilty. In a situation like this, she should have been able to strengthen her husband more, not throw him out of the house. Alice realized that Semi must have done all this just to find money to make herself and her baby happy. In the morning, at the tree house, Philippe came calling Alex and told him to come down immediately. Philippe said that this afternoon he wanted to go on vacation to Japan and asked Alex to come along. At first, Alex was silent. However, after thinking about it, he finally answered, "If Dad wants me to go to Japan with you, then I have one request." That afternoon, Philippe invited all the demonstrators to come to the house. Then, he told them that Alex had asked him to cancel the decision to lay off employees at the company. As a father, Philippe granted his son's request. So, starting tomorrow, all the demonstrators who were laid off could go back to work. Hearing the news, all the demonstrators cheered happily. In the midst of their joy, Alice was angry. Why did they all only care about themselves? As if they had forgotten Semi's condition. Yesterday, they hated Semi because they were considered a traitor because she worked for Philippe. Now, they were even calling out Philippe's name, but forgetting Semi. Ali was very disappointed. While he was angry, Ali's stomach suddenly ached. A sign that she wanted to give birth. People panicked, then rushed to take her to the hospital. After granting his son's request, Philippe and Alex then left for Japan. On the way to the airport, Philippe said that when he grew up, Alex would be the successor to his company. Alex replied that if he had to continue the company, he didn't want to be like his father. Why be someone who had everything and was able to send his mother to the best hospital abroad for treatment, but instead separated the mother from her child at home, until finally, the child did not have time to spend time with her mother in the last moments of her life. Hearing Alex's words, from the bottom of his heart, Philippe apologized because he had failed to be a good father. In the silence, Alex said, "Because of Dad's selfishness, maybe Semi will also be sad and regret not having the chance to witness the birth of her baby." Philippe fell silent. He then told his driver to turn back to the hospital. In the treehouse, Philippe's servants and men shouted for Semi. They were ordered by Philippe to pick up and take Semi to the hospital as soon as possible. It turned out that since yesterday, Alex had secretly hidden Semi in his treehouse. When he found out that his wife was about to give birth, Semi hurriedly left. At the hospital, during the labor process, the neighbors looked anxious as they sat waiting. Together, Alex thanked his father. Philippe was touched. This was the first time he had heard words of gratitude from his son. Philippe said that in the future, he would try to spend more time with Alex. Shortly after, Semi came out of the delivery room with a happy face. She shouted that her baby was a girl. Everyone then cheered to congratulate her. In the delivery room, when she looked at her little baby's face, Semi was so touched, she then allowed Alex to hold her baby. Seeing Alex's happy face, Philippe was also happy. After everything was done, before continuing the journey to the airport, Philippe took his son for a walk first to enjoy the beautiful afternoon atmosphere in the hospital garden. When they both sat on the park bench, Philippe took off his shoes, then told Alex to take off his shoes too. Philippe said, "Semi said that walking barefoot on the grass feels ticklish and nice. So, how about we try it?" Happily, the father and son finally spent time together, enjoying simple things that felt beautiful. While walking, Alex suddenly asked for one more request. He wanted to start a new company with Semi, namely a two-headed teapot factory. Laughing, Philippe agreed.